What does he actually want next? For years, the public answer seemed obvious. Harry and Meghan wanted out. They wanted a life in California, away from palace control, away from the royal rota, away from the daily pressure of being working members of the British royal family. They wanted freedom, privacy, financial independence, and the right to tell their own story on their own terms. But the longer this post-royal chapter continues, the harder that answer becomes to believe in its original form. Because now, whenever Harry's name is linked to Britain, security, palace accommodation, reconciliation, or possible visits with Meghan and the children, the story no longer sounds like a clean break. It sounds like a man trying to keep one foot outside the institution and one foot close enough to return if life in exile stops working. That is why every rumor about divorce planning, every report about a possible return to the royal fold, every argument over taxpayer-funded security, and every discussion of titles or succession feels so charged. People are no longer simply asking whether Harry wants to see his father. They are asking whether Harry is quietly building a path back to a system he spent years attacking. That does not mean every rumor should be treated as fact. There is no confirmed divorce between Harry and Meghan. There is no official statement that either of them is planning a separation. There is no public document proving that Harry is making a post-marriage escape plan. But in royal commentary, speculation often grows where behavior appears inconsistent. Not long ago, Harry and Meghan's public language was built around permanence in California. They had a home in Montecito, a new commercial life, media projects, philanthropy, celebrity friendships, and a whole identity based on having left the British royal machine behind. Yet now, the public keeps hearing about possible visits, palace invitations, security disputes, reconciliation efforts, family meetings, and the question of whether Harry may spend more time in Britain. That shift creates suspicion. If California is the forever home, why is Britain suddenly so central again? If the monarchy was so damaging, why is access to the royal world still so valuable? If the Sussexes wanted independence, why do so many of their most important battles still involve royal status, royal security, royal property, and royal family relationships? The most cautious answer is that Harry may simply be homesick. He may be older, more reflective, and more aware that his father is aging and has been receiving treatment for cancer. He may want his children, Prince Archie and Princess Lilibet, to know their grandfather and their British family. He may also understand that the Invictus Games returning to Birmingham in 2027 will make Britain a more important stage for him again. Those are human reasons, and they should not be dismissed. But the harder political answer is that Harry's independent life has not delivered the unchallenged authority he may have expected. The media deals have been mixed. The public sympathy that followed the Oprah interview has softened in many places. His memoir sold massively, but it also deepened the rupture with William and Catherine. His lawsuits have brought some victories, but also serious defeats and enormous costs. And his security campaign has kept him tied to the very state apparatus he claimed to have outgrown. A man in that position may begin to look at Britain not only as home, but as insurance. That is why the divorce speculation has become so persistent, even without proof. Critics argue that if Harry and Meghan ever separated, Harry's position in America would become more fragile. Meghan has her own American identity, her own brand ambitions, and her own history before royal life. Harry's global identity, by contrast, is still overwhelmingly royal. Without the marriage, without the California couple narrative, and without the joint Sussex brand, where would he naturally belong? The answer, emotionally and historically, is Britain. But Britain is also where the damage is deepest. It is where William's mistrust sits. It is where Catherine was pulled into the story again and again. It is where the late Queen and Prince Philip spent their final years under the shadow of Sussex accusations. It is where the public debate over security, titles, and duty is fiercest. So if Harry ever did need a route home, he would not be returning to a blank page, he would be returning to a ledger. The Heritage Foundation visa case adds another layer to the idea of Harry's future being less settled than it once appeared. The conservative think tank has pursued records connected to Harry's US immigration status, arguing that the public has an interest in knowing whether his admitted past drug use, discussed in Spare, was handled according to normal rules. The US government has resisted broad disclosure, citing privacy, and the documents that have surfaced have been heavily redacted. Importantly, nothing public has proved that Harry lied on any visa application. That point matters. It would be irresponsible to state otherwise. What can be said is that the case has kept Harry's American status in the news and has turned his residency into a political symbol. To critics, the question is fairness. Did a prince receive treatment an ordinary applicant would not? To supporters, the case is an invasion of privacy dressed up as transparency. Either way, it contributes to the same atmosphere of uncertainty. Harry left Britain to build a life abroad, but even that life is now litigated, scrutinized, and tied to the consequences of what he chose to reveal in his own book. Then there is the question of Donald Trump and the politics of deportation. Trump has made critical remarks about Harry and Meghan in the past, and some commentators have suggested that a future or current US administration could be less protective of Harry than the Biden administration was perceived to be. But the practical reality is more complicated. A president may enjoy a political attack line, but deporting the king's son would be a diplomatic earthquake. It would create unnecessary tension with Buckingham Palace and the British government, especially at a time when the monarchy still matters as a soft power bridge between Britain and the United States. So even critics who believe Harry should face full transparency over his immigration file should also recognize that the political system is likely to treat the matter carefully. That does not mean Harry has nothing to worry about. It means the visa story is probably less about immediate deportation and more about embarrassment, legitimacy, and whether the same rules apply to famous people with titles. The same distinction between practical reality and symbolic power appears in the conversation about King Charles's eventual funeral. It is a grim subject, but royal families are institutions, and institutions plan for death with extraordinary precision. King Charles has been undergoing cancer treatment since Buckingham Palace announced his diagnosis in 2024. The palace has not disclosed the type of cancer or a detailed prognosis. More recent reporting has described positive progress and a reduced or precautionary phase of treatment. So any dramatic claim about exact timelines should be treated with caution. Still, as with every monarch, plans for the end of the reign exist. When that day eventually comes, Harry will almost certainly attend his father's funeral. He is the king's son. Whatever has happened, that bond will not be erased by royal disputes, court cases, memoirs, interviews, or exile. The more difficult question is whether Meghan and the children would attend with him. There is no way to know. If Charles's funeral took place at a moment when relations were still strained, their presence would create extraordinary tension for William and Catherine, but excluding them would create its own story. At the funerals of Prince Philip and Queen Elizabeth II, the royal family managed awkwardness because duty demanded it. The public saw distance, restraint, and carefully arranged choreography. A future funeral for King Charles would be even more delicate because William would become king the moment his father died. He would be grieving, assuming the throne, managing the nation, and dealing with Harry's presence all at once. That is why the idea of Harry returning for such an occasion is not only a family matter, it is an operational challenge. Every seat, every procession position, every camera angle, and every interaction would be read for meaning. Harry himself would not receive a state funeral under normal expectations. In the United Kingdom, state funerals are generally reserved for monarchs, with rare exceptions such as Winston Churchill. Senior royals who are not sovereigns typically receive ceremonial royal funerals. Prince Philip's funeral was a ceremonial royal funeral, not a state funeral. The same distinction applied to Queen Elizabeth, the Queen Mother. Diana's funeral, although watched by millions and filled with national emotion, was not a state funeral either. So if Harry died while still a non-working royal, the likely category would be a ceremonial royal funeral, not a state funeral. That would still involve dignity, military elements where appropriate, royal attendance, and public significance. But it would not place him in the same category as a monarch. This matters because the distinction reflects the central issue of Harry's life after 2020. Birth gives him significance, but duty determines the level of state honor. The question of Diana's jewelry touches the same emotional nerve. Meghan has worn pieces associated with Diana, and those items carry enormous symbolic value. In ordinary terms, jewelry given as a personal gift usually belongs to the recipient, unless there is a specific legal arrangement saying otherwise. Publicly, there is no confirmed prenup or disclosed agreement requiring Meghan to return Diana-related jewelry in the event of divorce. That does not mean every detail is known. Private settlements can include negotiations over property, gifts, heirlooms, and family items. Harry could, in theory, ask for certain pieces to be returned as part of an overall agreement. Meghan could agree, refuse, or use the emotional value of those pieces in negotiations. But what should be avoided is pretending that the public knows the legal position of every jewel. What we do know is that Diana's memory has become one of the most powerful emotional currencies in the Sussex story. Jewelry is not just jewelry when it belonged to Diana, it becomes legitimacy, inheritance, and narrative power. That is why people react so strongly to the idea that any Diana pieces might permanently leave Harry's side of the family. Diana's jewelry has often been presented as a bridge between generations, from Diana to her sons, and then to the women they married. Catherine wearing Diana's sapphire engagement ring is understood as part of William's future, the future monarchy, and the public continuity of Diana's memory. Meghan wearing Diana's pieces has a different meaning because Meghan and Harry left the working monarchy and built a new life outside it. For supporters, Meghan wearing those jewels is simply a daughter-in-law honoring a woman Harry adored. For critics, it is uncomfortable because they see Meghan as having benefited from Diana's aura while helping Harry wage war on the institution Diana's elder son will one day lead. That is not a legal argument. It is an emotional one, but royal symbolism often matters as much as law. The same is true of titles. Many critics ask why King Charles has not stripped Harry and Meghan of their Duke and Duchess of Sussex titles, or why he does not act now to make life easier for William later. The answer is that title removal is not always as simple as public anger wants it to be. A monarch can make certain decisions about styles and royal usage, but removing a dukedom would likely require parliamentary involvement. Altering the line of succession is even more complicated and would involve constitutional law across the realms where the British monarch is head of state. That does not make change impossible. History shows that Parliament can regulate succession, but it does mean that removing Harry, Archie, or Lilibet from the line would be a major constitutional act, not a tidy family punishment. Charles is unlikely to seek that kind of escalation unless he believes it is absolutely necessary. This is where the old half-in, half-out problem comes back. When Harry and Meghan first stepped away from royal duties, the central question was whether they could keep certain royal privileges while building a commercial life abroad. The late Queen's answer, in practice, was no. A working royal represents the crown, a private celebrity represents himself or herself. The two roles cannot be blended endlessly without damaging the meaning of both. If Harry were ever allowed to return as some sort of semi-working royal, that old problem would return immediately. Would he be allowed to do official engagements while also making commercial media deals? Would Meghan's lifestyle brand be treated as separate from the monarchy, even while she still used a Duchess title? Would the couple receive security and palace support while remaining free to speak publicly about private family matters? These are not small details. They are the entire problem. For William, the danger is not simply that Harry might come back. The danger is that Harry might come back badly defined. A clean, private reconciliation can be managed. A public role without firm boundaries cannot. William's future monarchy is expected to be smaller, sharper, and more disciplined. He will not have the luxury of endless working royals or unlimited public patience. If Charles lets Harry drift closer without setting clear limits, William may inherit a mess that is emotionally harder to correct. It is one thing for William to say no to Harry when Harry is clearly outside the system. It is another thing to remove him after Charles has appeared to welcome him back. That is why critics worry less about one meeting and more about precedent. Every invitation, every room offer, every security concession, and every public gesture can become the foundation for the next demand. The public also remembers that Harry and Meghan are unusually effective at turning symbolic moments into narrative advantage. A private visit becomes proof of reconciliation. A family photograph becomes a statement about belonging. A palace room becomes an olive branch. A brief meeting with the king becomes evidence that the old guard is softening. None of that may be how the palace intends it, but intention is not the same as public interpretation. Once an image or detail enters the media bloodstream, the Sussex side can frame it, critics can attack it, and the palace is left trying to explain what was supposed to be private. That is why royal households traditionally value boring clarity. Boring clarity is protective. Ambiguity may feel kinder in the short term, but ambiguity is where pressure campaigns grow. The cleanest rule would be simple. Family access is not institutional access. Harry can be a son without becoming a working royal. He can be a brother without being treated as a counsellor. He can be a father bringing his children to see their grandfather without reviving the Sussex brand as a royal project. If he accepts that, there is room for decency. If he does not, the palace should not confuse compassion with surrender. The crown can be humane without being naive. It can allow private healing without rebuilding the platform that caused so much damage in the first place. There is also Charles's psychology. He has spent much of his life under the shadow of public judgment over Diana. He knows what it means to be seen as harsh, cold, or insufficiently compassionate. He also knows that history can harden around emotional images. Diana alone, Diana wounded, Diana pursued, Diana dead, and Charles left to carry part of the public blame. Whether fair or not, that history likely affects how he handles Harry. Charles may want to be seen as a forgiving father and a humane king. He may not want his reign defined by banishing his younger son. That does not mean he is blind to the danger. It means he is balancing institutional discipline with personal regret. Critics may wish for a final dramatic act, a royal thunderbolt that strips Harry and Meghan of status and removes every future problem. But Charles's style is rarely thunderbolt. He prefers delay, compromise, and managed ambiguity. That may frustrate William's supporters, but it is consistent with the king's character. The comparison with Queen Elizabeth II's late intervention on Camilla is useful, but not identical. In 2022, during her Platinum Jubilee message, the late Queen expressed her wish that Camilla would be known as Queen Consort when Charles became king. That statement mattered because it gave public legitimacy to something many people had once considered impossible. It was a final act of settlement, a way of smoothing Charles's path before the end of Elizabeth's reign. Some royal watchers wonder whether Charles might one day do something similar for William by settling the Harry question before William inherits the throne. But the situations are very different. Camilla had spent years quietly building public acceptance through service, restraint, and loyalty to the institution. Harry has spent years publicly challenging the institution. Camilla's elevation stabilized the future king's household. Harry's restoration, if mishandled, could destabilize the next reign before it begins. That is why William's position matters more than any commentator's theory. Currently, the line of succession runs through William, then Prince George, Princess Charlotte, Prince Louis, and then Harry, followed by Archie and Lilibet. That means Harry remains close enough to the throne for succession questions to be more than abstract. The probability of the Wales line being wiped out is extremely low, but monarchy is built around low probability planning. That is why the issue of William flying with Catherine and all three children in the same helicopter has attracted concern. Reports over the years have claimed that Queen Elizabeth II and King Charles both worried about William piloting or travelling by helicopter with his immediate family, particularly with George, the heir after him. William is an experienced pilot, and no one should imply recklessness without acknowledging his training. But the constitutional point remains obvious. The monarchy cannot treat the line of succession casually. This is one of the few areas where even strong supporters of William may criticise him. The Wales family represents the stable future of the monarchy. William, Catherine, George, Charlotte, and Louis are not just a family unit, they are the core of the next two reigns. When they appear together, the public sees continuity. When Catherine returns to duty after illness, the public sees resilience. When George begins taking on more visible moments, the public sees the next generation. That makes their safety a national concern in a way that goes beyond normal celebrity protection. The risk of a shared flight may be small, but the consequences of a disaster would be enormous. It would create a constitutional and emotional crisis, and it would move Harry dramatically closer to the throne. That is why critics argue that William and George, at the very least, should not travel together in ways that concentrate risk. This does not mean the public should live in panic over every helicopter journey. Modern royal travel is highly planned, and the household will have professional advice. But history teaches why monarchies are cautious. Accidents happen, aircraft fail, weather changes. Human beings make decisions in imperfect conditions. The royal family knows this as well as anyone. It has lived through sudden death, war, assassination threats, accidents, and constitutional shocks. So the point is not to sensationalize danger. The point is to recognize that succession is not only a family tree on a website, it is the backbone of the state. If the monarchy believes Harry and Meghan should never be near the throne in practice, then the safest way to preserve that reality is to protect the Wales line with extreme caution. That is where Catherine becomes so important. Her recent public return and personal recovery have reminded many people why she is central to the monarchy's future. Catherine announced in 2024 that she'd undergone treatment for cancer, later said she had completed chemotherapy, and has gradually returned to public life. By 2026, reporting showed her taking on meaningful engagements again, including high-profile appearances and a demanding Three Peaks challenge connected to cancer charity work. What stands out is not just that she returned, it is the way she returned. Catherine appears more focused, less interested in noise, and more centered on the causes that genuinely matter to her, especially early childhood, family, nature, health, and community. Serious illness often strips life down to essentials. In Catherine's case, that seems to have sharpened her public role rather than diminished it. That is why Catherine's image now contrasts so strongly with Meghan's. Meghan's public work often arrives wrapped in brand language, media positioning, product timing, and personal narrative. Catherine's work, at its best, feels quieter and more institutional. That does not mean Catherine is untouched by strategy. Every senior royal is carefully managed. But Catherine's strength is that the strategy rarely seems to swallow the work. Her appearances after treatment have carried emotional weight because the public knows she has been through something serious, yet she has not turned every appearance into a lecture about herself. She can be warm without over-explaining, visible without appearing desperate for attention, and personal without making the monarchy feel like a therapy platform. That balance is exactly what the institution needs after years of Sussex drama. The original discussion also raised the question of Diana's death, and that subject requires care. Officially, the 2008 inquest concluded that Diana and Dodi Fayed were unlawfully killed due to the grossly negligent driving of their chauffeur, Henri Paul, and the paparazzi vehicles pursuing them. The inquest also identified factors such as speed, alcohol, and the fact that Diana and Dodi were not wearing seatbelts. Conspiracy theories have existed for decades, and it is true that Diana's death left emotional wounds that never fully closed, especially for William and Harry. But a responsible script should not present unsupported theories as fact. The official record does not support a murder plot. What can be said is that Harry's public life has been shaped by unresolved trauma around his mother, and that his fear of the press, his fixation on security, and his anger at institutions are all connected to that early loss. Understanding that helps explain him. It does not excuse everything he has done. The personal media war element of this story is also worth understanding, but again with caution. Some journalists and commentators argue that they were punished for reporting early claims about Meghan's behaviour inside the palace. Buckingham Palace did launch a review into how bullying allegations involving Meghan were handled, and the findings were not published because officials cited confidentiality. Meghan has denied bullying allegations, and her representatives have described them as a smear. That is the factual ground. Beyond that, individual journalists have their own accounts of how they were treated, who targeted them, and why they lost positions in mainstream media. Those accounts may be sincere, but they are also personal. For a clean narration, the larger point is stronger. The Sussex story created a media battlefield. Reporters, newspapers, royal aides, activists, online supporters, and critics all became part of a wider struggle over who controlled the truth. Harry's legal campaigns against the press intensified that struggle. He has had some success in cases connected to unlawful information gathering, but his 2026 defeat against Associated Newspapers was a serious blow. The High Court dismissed the claims brought by Harry and other public figures against the publisher of the Daily Mail, and the potential costs were reported to be enormous. For Harry, this is not simply about money, it is about credibility. When a prince builds much of his identity around fighting the press, each court case becomes part of his moral argument. A victory supports the idea that he was right to keep pushing. A defeat gives critics evidence that anger and suspicion are not the same as proof. That is why the Daily Mail case matters far beyond the legal technicalities. It reinforces the concern that Harry acts first from grievance and only later confronts the consequences. If Harry ever wants a genuine path back to his family, this is the pattern he would have to break. The monarchy can survive private pain. It has survived abdication, divorce, scandal, death, and public anger. What it struggles to survive is endless public litigation of private relationships. Harry cannot rebuild trust while continuing to turn family grievances into media events. He cannot ask for warmth while keeping the threat of disclosure alive. He cannot expect William to treat him as a safe brother if every conversation might later become context for a book, interview, documentary, lawsuit, or briefing. Trust is not restored by one meeting at Highgrove, one palace room offer, or one carefully managed photograph. It is restored by years of silence, restraint, and changed behavior. That brings us back to the central question. Is Harry's renewed interest in Britain about family, security, status, or survival? The answer may be all four. He may truly miss his father. He may truly worry about safety. He may also miss the status that came with being inside the royal machine. And he may understand that if the Sussex brand weakens, Britain remains the only stage on which he is permanently important. That is the uncomfortable truth. In America, Harry is a celebrity with a title. In Britain, he is the king's son. Those are not the same thing. The title travels, but the meaning is rooted at home. For the palace, the solution is not cruelty, it is clarity. Harry can have a relationship with his father, but that does not mean a return to royal work. He can receive case-by-case security when risk requires it, but that does not mean automatic status protection. He can attend family funerals and major moments, but that does not mean he is restored to the inner circle. Meghan and the children can be treated with basic dignity, but that does not mean the Sussex brand gets to use royal proximity as a launchpad. William can be civil without being intimate. Catherine can be gracious without being expected to mediate. Charles can love his son without handing him institutional leverage. These distinctions are not cold, they are necessary. The public has grown tired of royal ambiguity, because ambiguity is where the Sussex drama thrives. If Harry is out, then let him be out. If he wants family contact, keep it private. If he wants public royal relevance, require public accountability. If Meghan wants an American lifestyle empire, let it stand on its own without constant royal fuel. If the children are to be protected from scrutiny, stop using their royal connection as emotional capital. The British public does not need every private wound explained. It needs to know that the future of the monarchy is not being shaped by guilt, panic, or media pressure. That future is William, Catherine, George, Charlotte, and Louis. Everything else has to be arranged around protecting that line, that stability, and that trust. In the end, Harry's tragedy is that he may have mistaken escape for freedom. He escaped the daily obligations of royal life, but not the meaning of being royal. He escaped palace hierarchy, but not family history. He escaped Britain, but not the pull of home. He escaped the royal rota, but not the press. He escaped duty, but not expectation. And now, if he wants to come closer again, he must face the very thing he has spent years resisting. The monarchy is bigger than his feelings. It is bigger than his marriage, bigger than his lawsuits, bigger than his anger, bigger than his security demands, and bigger than his memories of Diana. The door to family may never be fully closed. But the door to trust is different. That door will not open because Harry needs a fallback plan. It will only open if he proves over time that he understands what he broke and what the crown must protect.